Ladies and gentlemen, men in many ways are the mission, because if we reach them and we help them understand their role and their calling, we ultimately reach the entire family. Anyone who avidly follows contemporary popular culture and cultural trends is probably aware of the fact that pornography, the adult entertainment industry, as it is sometimes called, is an entity that generates billions of dollars in the United States annually. Some estimates suggest that the figure may be as high as $13 billion a year. Well, what's more notable is the fact that 90% of young boys and 60% of young girls have been exposed to pornography before they reach the age of 18. According to the website xpastors.com, the median age that children become introduced to such material, are you ready for this, is 11 years old. Earlier this year, the American Psychological Association published its study on pornography addiction, and due to a confluence of factors, it's hardly a surprise that we live in a society that is deeply immersed in and obsessed with this thing called pornography. Now, I want you to listen to just a couple of statistics. I'm going to use it as a springboard for the rest of our conversation with Ben Steiger of Heart of the Outdoors, a ministry that goes after men with a passion, tries to help them understand their calling before a holy and a righteous God. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But in 1994, the recently revived Promise Keepers organization conducted a survey that revealed that 50% of the men who attended their rallies in the 90s engaged themselves with some form of porn within a week of attending one of those events. Now, friends, that was over 2 decades ago. Would you consider the following additional statistics compiled by East Tennessee State University? A researcher there says that 79% of men between the ages of 18 and 30 view pornography monthly. 67% of men between the ages of 31 and 49 view pornography monthly. 49% of men between the ages of 50 and 68 view pornography monthly. And here is the kicker that I want to go to Ben with respect to, and that is Christian men, according to all the studies that I've been reading, watch pornography at work at the same rate as the national average. In other words, Christian men really in many ways are no different than just the average unsaved men in America. This is a major problem. So, Ben, men are facing a huge war zone in just this one arena alone. Can you tell us what you do regularly to counter this? And really, Ben, what is the answer, not just to the porn epidemic, but to all the battles that men face in the United States of America?
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, that's such a sickening statistics. But yet it's so true, and we can boil it down, whether it's pornography or addiction of any kind, drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be. The fact is that guys are bored, they're tired, and they're disconnected, and somehow the church has lost the way to connect with these guys. They find themselves without purpose. They find themselves without drive. And they find themselves with a desire for more. And so ultimately what they do is they go to try to fulfill that desire in all the wrong places. We know the story, right? But the fact is that God created every one of us on purpose, and He created us for a purpose. And what a lot of people don't finish that quote by saying is we were created in the image of God. And when somebody doesn't recognize their purpose, what are they to do other than just wander around? And if they don't have other men stepping up and leading them, then what hope is there for them? And so, it's so sad to me when I go into a church and I see men that are Christian on Sundays, but then we come outside of the church and they certainly aren't the rest of the week. And that is alarming to me. It's not acceptable, because I used to be one of those guys where I went to church on Sunday and I said the right things, I did the right things. I read my Bible occasionally throughout the week, but man, that's not what Christ called me to. He didn't call me to be half in and half out. Jesus wanted all of me. And so as I was trying to seek fulfillment, as I was trying to seek freedom, I would never find it because I was always half in and half out. So what I find so many men facing is this half in, half out mentality. And they want freedom, they want fulfillment, they want the promises of God now, but they're not willing to step in to a life of surrender. You know, we see the reclamation of a man's heart as a process. Awakened, engaged, equipped, surrender. It's actually the battle cry of this ministry called Blood Brothers. You know, when Jesus called his disciples, he awakened them to something so much greater. And then he engaged them shoulder to shoulder in ministry. And then he left them, but equipped them with the Holy Spirit. And then ultimately they had the decision to turn around and run the other way or to surrender to the call. And what I find is that so many men, they become awakened to something God's doing. They begin to engage in it. But then all of a sudden they realize that they got to give up stuff. And they got to give up control. They got to give up that addiction. And they fall off. And they just fall into this repetitious circle. Awaken, engage over and over and over again. And it seems like there isn't the right things in place to equip them inside of our church at times. And so, you know, you asked me what we do to come alongside men, is we've designed a ministry to be able to come alongside them and to engage them in a radically relevant way. They long for adventure. They long for challenge. And so Blood Brothers does that, and it helps them overcome these battles that they face. You know, pornography, alcoholism, drugs, you know, whatever it is, whether it's money, greed, control, those are all stemming from a desire for more. You know, when God created the heavens and the earth, the water, the sky, land and vegetation on it, birds of the air, the fish of the sea, and all the animals that roam the land, he scooped up dust from the ground, he formed it into the shape of a man, and then God breathed his divine breath into man. And in doing so, he imprinted on a man's soul a desire to be with him forever. And so what men don't get is that the only way to satisfy that desire this side of eternity is a relationship with Jesus Christ.